Awardees and academics across India, let me extend my heartiest congratulations to them. On a personal note, out of the 10 distinguished awardees, I must mention Mr. U.R. Lalit, whom I have known as a neighbor since childhood, and I am very happy that his great contribution as a lawyer is being recognized. I would also like to congratulate Professor Mulchand Sharma, who is being felicitated with a Law Teachers Award. Professor Sharma has been a great professor, teacher, scholar for more than 4 decades. And I find that many judges and senior lawyers take pride in saying that they have been taught by him. I want to use this opportunity to speak about the important role and the responsibilities of the bar. A book on former judges and lawyers in Madras refers to an interview given by Dr. Gopal Subramaniam, who is also going to be felicitated today, where he makes some important observations about the rich legacy and solid foundations that the present generation of lawyers has inherited, and the need to forge a connection between the two. He speaks about the bar having been built on a solid foundation of many known and many unknown lawyers who are upright, have integrity, and who have delivered professional justice with complete purity. Subramaniam's observation remind me of a poem, Bridge Builder, by Will Allen Dromgoole, which is about a generation's responsibility towards his successors. In the poem, an old man crosses for the last time dangerous chasm. To the surprise of an observer sitting nearby, the old man begins to build a bridge. The observer asks him why he is building the bridge, since he will not be crossing this way again. The old man lifts his head and responds as follows: "There followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been not to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building the bridge for him." I think Dromgoole's words speak to a very important tradition of the older members of the bar passing to their knowledge and lessons learned to newer members. Since I'm in such an esteemed gathering of lawyers and academics, I would like to speak about one such lesson that can and should be passed down, and that is the importance of freedom of speech and advocacy. David Panic, in his book Advocates, highlights the centrality of freedom of speech and expression, including the right to dissent and criticize in a liberal and democratic society. Panic argues that advocacy is a practical manifestation of the principle of freedom of speech, since free speech in the courtrooms helps the truth emerge, promotes the articulation of grievances and peaceful resolution of conflicts, and encourages the development of dignity and autonomy. Most importantly, free speech helps in the administration of justice. As Panic notes, freedom of expression for the advocate does not ensure that justice will be done. But without such a freedom, the prospect of a fair trial, a just result, and the protection of an individual right under the rule of law are immeasurably reduced. Thus, he concludes that freedom of speech is one of the basic conditions for the progress of democratic society and for the development of man. Panic's views are similar to those expressed by Justice Holmes on the marketplace of ideas in his famous dissent in Abraham versus US, that the best test of truth is the power of thought to get itself accepted in the competition of the market, and that the truth is the only ground upon which their wishes safely can be carried out. The Supreme Court and High Court also have in the past strongly endorsed and upheld the fundamental freedom of speech and expression, observing that dissent in all walks of life contributes to the evolution of society, and democracy is founded upon respect for such courage to question social norms, or that popular perceptions, however strong, cannot override values which the Constitution embodies as guarantees of freedom in what was always intended to be a free society. Thus, our courts have frowned upon attempts by the state to silence dissent or even unpatriotic speech as being violative of the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, these views are important and hold even more salience today. We are today, ladies and gentlemen, living in a world where we are being forced to stand up for the national anthem at a movie theater, where we are being told what we can and cannot eat, what movies we can and cannot see, and what we can and cannot comment upon, whether in real life or social media. Instead of healthy respect for one's fellow beings, sloganeering and flag hoisting are being passed off as proxy tests for nationalism. Dissent is being curbed, resulting in chilling effect on the free exercise of free speech and expression. From the deaths of Kalburgi, Pansare, Dabholkar, Gauri Lankesh, to the public lynching and deaths of Akhlaq and Pehlu Khan, to the branding of an entire university and its students as anti-national, we know now that the attack on our prized institutions of constitutionalism are real. We are living in the new age of nationalism, where cultural conformism is being foisted upon the entire nation without consideration of people's personal choices, values, and regional differences. Unfortunately, our institutions are not fighting back. Instead, they are buckling under public pressure, with the CBFC refusing to certify lady-oriented movies, whatever that means, such as Lipstick Under My Burqa, because it contains sexual scenes, abusive words, or directing that the line "Man Ki Baat" be deleted from the movie Samir, because that is the name of the Prime Minister's radio show, or making absolutely ridiculous requests, such as dropping the name of Punjab from the title of the movie Udta Punjab. How can we forget the current controversies surrounding the movies Padmavati, S. Durga, and Nude, which have stoked the new era of politics of outrage? The politics of outrage and cultural nationalism is not new to India. After all, this is the country that forced one of its greatest ever painter, M.F. Hussain, into exile for his artistic expression in his paintings, that banned the import of its own author, Salman Rushdie's satanic verses for its perceived blasphemous references, and that forced Penguin Publications to withdraw Wendy Doniger's book, The Hindus, An Alternative History. But the Padmavati debate brings our society, our ethos to a new low. Sanjay Leela Bhansali's movie on the mythological queen Rani Padmavati, who remains in the popular imagination thanks to the beautiful poem story by Malik Ahmad Muhammad Jayasi, written in 1540, more than 200 years after Rani Padmavati was said to have committed Jauhar to defend her honor against the treacherous Alauddin Khilji. Despite multiple orders from the High Courts and the Supreme Court itself that have made it clear that there will be no stay on the release of the movie, the producers have been forced to take a decision themselves to stay the release of the movie. Part of decision is based on the complete lack of support shown by the state, which has washed its hands off and refused to ensure the safety of producers, actors, who incidentally have a bounty of 5 crore or 10 crore on their heads. The distributors, the movie theater owners, the audience that would have come to watch the movie, there is no guarantee of protection of any one of them. Even the movies S. Durga, which was forced to change its name from Sexy Durga in a bid to appease any protest, and Nude, despite being recommended by the IFI jury, were not cleared by the I&B Ministry for screening. In fact, despite Kerala High Court directing that IFI must include S. Durga in the schedule, the film was not screened. As Arun Puri notes in his editorial in the India Today, India is now a republic of offended sentiments. Whereas Pratap Bhanu Mehta points out in the context of politicians backing a ban on the release of Padmavati, you have the deplorable spectacle of chief ministers cutting across party lines, presenting an astounding spectacle of sheer cowardice, complicity with hawkishness, and a total abdication of their constitutional duties. Ladies and gentlemen, it is distressing to notice that our institutions of learning are under attack today, and there is a concerted attempt to destroy any independent thought. Today, sadly, in this country I love, if anyone hold a view that is different from the government's acceptable view, they are immediately dubbed as anti-national or Deshadrohi. This marker of anti-national is used to intimidate and browbeat voices of dissent and criticism, and more worryingly, can be used to slap a sedition charge. Another disturbing feature is that the courts, under the guise of law, have overreached themselves and ended up restricting our fundamental rights. The Supreme Court order requiring all moviegoers to stand up in respect for the national anthem before the start of the movie is, in fact, according to me, a form of forced or conscripted nationalism. The order fails to understand a distinction fundamental to liberal democracy. Everything what is desirable or makes for a better citizen does not and should not be made compulsory. Unfortunately, this was followed by Madras High Court, which made the singing of Vande Mataram mandatory in all schools and colleges across the state at least once a week, and in the government and private offices at least once a month. I was Chief Justice of Madras High Court, and I don't think any of the Tamilians will be able to sing this song properly. Recently, ladies and gentlemen, several teachers in Tamil Nadu have been arrested for criticizing a judge of the Madras High Court on the Facebook. Just a couple of days back, a court in Mumbai issued a media gag order against court reporting a high-profile encounter case. In his article published yesterday, Alok Kumar Prasanna questions the role of the judiciary as a defender of the fundamental rights in the country, saying that courts in India seem to have become more executive-minded than the executive.